Good evening, folks. This is Ron Tyler with the Emergency Management Associates.
Folks, this is Ron Tyler with the Emergency Management Associates coming to you live from the crossroads of the West in Lake City, Utah. The time right now is 7:05 p.m.
Barely clear on the backside of the sun, and the earth is located around 3.5 miles southeast of the Earth now. The solar wind is also
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to all the world here. Welcome to everyone. Thank you for joining us here on the Emergency Management Associates Network. My name is Ron Tyler. We're coming to you from the Area Command 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. As we've been doing for quite some time, we're going to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance and the United States National Anthem. I would ask right now for everybody to please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now would you make welcome, straight from Washington, D.C., the United States Army Corps Quartet.
Yeah.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star
America's finest. The United States Army Barbershop Quartet performing at the Barbershop Quartet Convention in 2015. The hosts of the Barbershop Quartet Convention giving us the Pledge of Allegiance, and we appreciate that to no end. God bless you, men and women in the United States Armed Forces. God bless you, and also our allied armed forces, wherever you might be, helping the United States help protect the world, literally. We're all policemen of the world, unfortunately. But we want to thank all of you for your service, all of the Army forces of the Allies and the United States military. God bless you. May you all return home to your families after your tours of duty end. Thank you so much for your service. Folks, we have a lot to cover tonight. A ton of stuff to cover tonight. Unfortunately, we never have enough time, literally. I want to start tonight talking about that earthquake that hit last night. It came out as a 7.7 magnitude earthquake down in the Loyalty Islands south of Fiji. Okay, in the Loyalty Islands there, a major 7.7 magnitude earthquake. It was briefly downgraded to a 7.5, further to a 7.4, then upgraded again to 7.5 and 7.7, and upgraded to 7.8, and finally downgraded again to a 7.7 major earthquake. A big deal. A huge deal. Now, I want to show you here on our map that I'm going to show you right now what actually happened between last night and now. I took this picture just about 30 minutes ago. This is a screenshot of the aftershocks. All of the aftershocks. Now, folks, this is not an exact aftershock map. There are hundreds of aftershocks, enough to fill 3 pages of documents. Hundreds of aftershocks. This is just some of them. Okay? Aftershocks ranging from 3.4 all the way up to 5.9 and 6.2. That's a heck of a lot of earthquakes, and it is a heck of a deficit all over the planet, literally. The earthquake aftershocks that hit here are equivalent to the magnitude of all the earthquakes around the globe. That's how diverse they are, literally all over the place. Enough aftershocks to fill 3 pages. Incredible. Incredible. I'm not even going to show you all of those because it would take so much time. But needless to say, it is still shaking down there in the South Pacific. Now, it has already been shaking, I think, about 21 hours. Approximately 21 hours of shaking down there in the South Pacific, and I don't think it's over. I just don't think it's over. This may be going on for quite some time. Now, with that said, folks, I want to say this. This was not a 7.7 magnitude earthquake. This was not a 7.7 magnitude earthquake. What I am going to say is this. This was at least an 8.0 magnitude earthquake. An 8.0 magnitude earthquake. Why am I saying that? Let me go and show you another picture here. Give me a second. I've been looking all over. I put out my feelers for all kinds of data today, following up on this earthquake. Now, this is a helioplot from Kivo, Finland. Okay, this is the furthest away that I wanted to get so I could get probably the most accurate data of when the shaking has stopped. As you can see from the bottom horizontal line here on this diagram from Kivo, Finland, it is still shaking. There is still some movement. Okay, now I'm going to enlarge this for a second just to give us a good idea of what we see here. Let's go over to just below that main shake line where the major earthquake hit. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 lines, and it's still moving. 13 lines and it's still moving. This does not even show all the data here yet. The data has not yet caught up with it. When I first talked to one of my colleagues, Delilah, last night on text messaging, I said it might go all the way to 21 hours, and it already has. I'm going to be interested to see what it shows at the 21-hour point, because we still see movement, and each line here represents a 1-hour time period of movement. The Earth is still shaking down there in the South Pacific. It's incredible. And look at how long this earthquake hit. All the P waves here. All the P waves. Remember last night I showed you heliplots that showed the primary waves going straight up? This is going straight down. This is after the earthquake hit. Okay? Hours afterwards. And it's still going off the charts. Completely off the charts. And the horizontal lines indicate the body wave of that earthquake. It has not stopped shaking. I believe this was at least an 8.0 magnitude earthquake. Now, with that said, there's a lot more to show you here. Okay, I'm going back to that one slide here. Look where this earthquake hit. It was along a plate boundary, an earthquake fault in the South Pacific. This earthquake fault includes the Indo-Australian plate. With that said, there are 7 different plates down here in the South Pacific. One plate subducting under another. That is one of the biggest reasons that this earthquake has hit. And this is not the first time we've had a major earthquake down here in the Loyalty Islands, a New Caledonia area. This is the 3rd time we've had major earthquake status here. One time it was New Caledonia. Here, it's down here in the Loyalty Islands. And we had one other time where it was in the Loyalty Islands. This is the 3rd time in this area. I don't think it will be the last. At least once a year, we have major plate activity here. And we see it again. I believe this was an 8.0 magnitude earthquake. USGS and I'm not saying all of them, because there are agencies that are saying 8.0. The USGS has it as a 7.7. We still remain checked on whether it was a 7.7 or an 8.0. I truly think it was an 8.0. This is not the first time that this has happened. It won't be the last. It just won't be the last. There's a lot of other activity down here in the South Pacific. It's not over. It's literally not over. As I explained last night, there was some differences with the National Weather Service and the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration. The NOAA was saying that there was no tsunami threat. Well, there was. Down here in and around the South Pacific where this earthquake hit. New Zealand was going to see anywhere from a 0.1 to a 3.1 type of tsunami. Meters I'm talking about. 0.1 meter, which would be 1 foot, 12 inches. Up to 3 meters, 9 feet, above normal tide levels. It never happened that way. I think the most tide level tsunami they had was, I believe, about 6 inches. I don't believe there was a full-blown tsunami anywhere. Okay? Hawaii, South America, Central America, over in the Asian Pacific, all the way up into the US, Canada, and Alaska. Nothing. No major tsunami threat at all. It could have been. It could have been. But not this time. Now, there's a lot going on. And I'm not going to pull or blow up smoke into anybody's britches. This is still a big deal. I don't believe it's over yet. We'll see how long we get aftershocks here. After major earthquakes such as this, we'll probably see aftershocks in this area for years. We're still seeing them over in Puerto Rico. We saw them in Alaska after 3 years when they had a 6.3 up in northern Alaska. After the 7.0 earthquake in Anchorage, the aftershocks really have not stopped. We're still seeing aftershocks after that 7.0 in Anchorage. That happens. That happens more times than not. Now let me back out of this earthquake here. We had some activity at the just after that earthquake hit over here in Vanuatu. This is a 5.0 large earthquake. Port Vila, Vanuatu. This is 6.2 miles deep. This earthquake down here in the Loyalty Islands was only 38 kilometers deep. 38 kilometers deep. A shallow earthquake, as this one in Vanuatu is. 6.2 miles deep, 10 kilometers deep. Okay, now we're not seeing all of the earthquakes that the USGS doesn't want us to see. We're seeing 2 earthquakes over in Indonesia. We're seeing 1 earthquake over here in Papua New Guinea. This is a 4.9, 5.0 magnitude earthquake over here in Papua New Guinea. This is 55.2 miles deep. Okay, just about 75 kilometers deep. Going over here into this Indonesian area. Okay, I'm going to be showing you a volcano over here that also erupted. A big deal. Over here in the Molucca Sea, we have a 4.6 magnitude earthquake here, a moderate earthquake. Would only cause moderate damage if it hit on land. That's a big if. This hit out in the ocean, in the Molucca Sea. The ocean waters here absorb the shock waves. It's a moderate quake. If it hit land, there would possibly have been minor damage, meaning pictures knocked off walls, knickknacks and books knocked off shelves, plates rattling, possibly cupboards opening, cupboard doors opening and shutting. We go north up here to Ternate, Indonesia. This is another 4.9, 5.0 magnitude earthquake, 27 kilometers deep. Now, I'm going northeast here. This is in Tobelo, Indonesia. Another 4.6 here, 65 kilometers deep. to Belo, Indonesia. Folks, let me zoom in here. Okay? The one in Ternate is in the ocean. No big deal. This one here is also in the open ocean. Nobody felt this either. A 4.6 quake, a moderate quake. Now, why do we want to pay particular attention to these large earthquakes? If this large 4.9 earthquake had hit on land, it would have caused major damage. In underdeveloped worlds or countries of the world, where they have mud shacks and unreinforced masonry, and sometimes nothing more than cardboard or wood shacks, and that's it, their homes would have been destroyed. That's the difference between a 5.0 and a 4.6. A 4.6 may have done even more damage. It was a mud shack or cardboard or wood shack. In this area of the world, they have a lot of those, unless it's the capital of Indonesia. That's a little bit different. But even outside of the capital of Indonesia, I've seen shacks all over that area, just on the outskirts of the capital. I've seen cardboard and wooden shacks all over. Those people are not being served by the politicians that take their money. The only thing they can afford is bikes or cars over there to get to and from their work. They live in a mud or wooden shack. It's quite unfortunate. But there's something else I want to talk about here. Let me get out of this map for a few minutes. There was something else that happened over here last night. Orangutan volcano erupted in a pretty much violent eruption. Villages around that area. And yes, there's small villages on the island of Orangutan. Let me show you the map. Okay? Let me enlarge this so you can properly see it. Okay? This is south of Davao, Philippines. Okay? Mindanao Island, Philippines. Okay? This is where it erupted. The volcano is on an island. It's actually got its own island here. And I don't think we're going to be able to see the island here by me enlarging it. I thought we would, but I don't think we're going to be able to. It's on an island here. A small island. Villagers had to be evacuated off this small island. Great big huge blobs or blocks of lava were ejected from this volcano. Lava going down the sides of Orangutan volcano. A great big deal. Now, I did some Google searching just for kicks and giggles. I know for a fact because I've covered the eruptions here at Orangutan volcano. It's erupted many times within the last 4 years that I've been on the air. Google search says it's erupted 79 times in the last 10,000 years. Really? And I know of at least 4 or 5 other times that it's erupted in the last 4 years. This is one of the most eruptive volcanoes in Indonesia. Okay? Just saying. That's also a big deal. Now, I've had people ask me about Hawaii. So I'm going to go over and talk a little bit about the volcanoes in Hawaii. I think it's necessary at this point in time. Okay? This is Kilauea. Kilauea volcano. This is today. Okay? We look up at the top. The seismogram starts recording at 11 p.m. last night. Look at all the earthquakes here at Kilauea volcano. Okay? This is pretty impressive because the USGS, the Hawaii Volcano Observatory, is not even specifying all of these earthquakes. They say they're having mild earthquake activity at Kilauea. This surely does not look like mild seismic activity at Kilauea. This earthquake over on the right, this big large earthquake here, this earthquake lasted a full minute. This was at least a 3.2 to 3.5 earthquake. And look off to the right of that earthquake, that triangle here. The secondary wave lasted over a minute. The secondary wave lasted over a minute. And then you can see the body wave lasting another 3 minutes here on this line, and then it continues on the line below it at 1:15 a.m. this morning until it quiets down. It even caused another tremor after that, probably a 1.7 tremor after that. So that earthquake kept going and going and going. Now I'm going to show you how many earthquakes it hit here, just for kicks and giggles. Look at that one at just about 3:08 a.m. this morning. Another 3.2 earthquake. Another secondary wave that lasted a full minute. And all the other earthquakes here. These are significant earthquakes at Kilauea. Okay? Yes, there are significant earthquakes on the Big Island. Significant earthquakes at Kilauea. Now, I'm going to show you a picture of the eruptive activity at Kilauea. This is it. Okay? Kilauea volcano is not erupting per se. We have a lot of steam coming out of the caldera, where the magma is just barely below the caldera, and it's steaming. Magmatic steaming at Kilauea volcano. And this is looking in a northwesterly direction. A northwesterly direction here. Kilauea is still active. Now, I want to show you some other volcanoes here on the Big Island. There's still a lot going on. A lot. Before I leave Kilauea, I want to take you out to Fern Forest. Fern Forest is almost directly south and east of Kilauea. In fact, this is the seismogram from Fern Forest that we're looking at right now. And you can see the big earthquakes that hit. This is at Fern Forest. Okay? So it's not just Kilauea. This seismograph that recorded this seismogram is probably 60 miles southeast of Kilauea. Okay? Let me bring up the USGS map here again, just briefly, and then we'll get back to these seismograms here. Okay? Let's go to the big island of Hawaii. I want to show you this. See where this earthquake hit over here in Fern Forest? See all that lava that came out of a fissure that erupted further northeast after Kilauea drained out? 3.5 years ago, folks, Kilauea and Pu'u'o'o volcanoes drained out. And the magma disappeared. The lava and magma disappeared that was in Kilauea and Pu'u'o'o. For several days, the scientists wondered where it went. Well, we know for a fact where it went. We see the history of it later. 24 fissures opened up all over this eastern, southeastern, and eastern, northeastern part of the island. This earthquake here is in Fern Forest. Okay? No, it's not near any of the fissures that had opened up. Okay? Yes, there were 2 fissures that opened up here in Fern Forest, north of where this earthquake is. But I want to point out something else. Okay? South of this earthquake. This is what they call the Helena slump. Okay? Back out here just a little bit. This area here is called the Helena slump. There has been some talk in recent years from skeptical people, skeptical of the USGS and the Hawaii Volcano Observatory. This Helena slump is a bunch of land that has been not receding, but coming apart, pulling away from the big island. This is lava that had erupted from a volcano here. And it's pulling away from the island slowly. And there was talk even 3 years ago about the Helena slump falling into the Pacific Ocean. And when it did, it would have sent tsunami waves all the way over to Central America and Southern California. It did not happen. Now, we've seen earthquakes in this area. That means the earth is changing here. The earth is moving. It's not going to do it anytime soon, I don't believe. I don't believe we've had significant seismic events happen that would cause that to happen. And it would have to be big time 5.0 large earthquake for that to happen. But here in Fern Forest, we have this 2.4 earthquake, a minor earthquake, a 1.6 mile depth. This is still significant. Now, over here, okay, this is northern Leilani Estates, Hawaiian acres. There are people living here. This is a 1.8 tremor. Nobody felt this. Okay? I'm going to zoom in and give you a good look at what's here. It's mostly estate homes with acreage here, mostly trees and such. Okay? Yes, south of here and east of here, there had been volcanoes. There had been fissures opened up, and some of those fissures turned into volcanoes. Cones and craters. Okay? As I'm backing out here, this is an older map. You see lava plumes, smoke coming up where the fissures had opened up. There's people that live here. Okay? You're seeing the lava plumes. Steam, SO2, and CO2 gases being emitted from these fissures. And this earthquake is right in the middle of where all these fissures opened up. just north and east of Fern Forest. This whole area is Leilani Estates. This whole area is Leilani Estates. It's an incredible area. Over 500 homes lost. Hundreds, if not thousands of people had to be relocated. It's incredible. And so that's one reason why we're talking about what's going on the Big Island today. Now, over here looking at Kilauea, look at all these earthquakes in and around Halemaumau Crater, which is Kilauea. Over here on the northeastern part of the rim of the volcano, this is a 1.7. Going northwest, this is a 2.1. Going over to the south part of the crater, this is a 0.9. Right next to it, it's a 2.0 magnitude earthquake. Significant. Significant. Most of these earthquakes here are not being shown what they really are. I just got through showing you the seismogram of Kilauea. None of these seismic events listed on this map are actually on the seismogram. That's why I wanted to show you this. Okay? I wanted you to become familiar with what's going on. This area here is known as Pahala. Look at all these earthquakes and swarms of earthquakes here in Pahala. This I just illuminated was a 2.0. This is a 3.7. A 3.7 is felt. A 3.7 earthquake will be felt. It's a small earthquake. 3.0 to 3.9 are considered to be small earthquakes. 2.0 to 2.9 are considered to be minor earthquakes. I need you to remember it because I'm going to show you another 2.2 that happened someplace else. And yet, where that earthquake hit, people felt it. So again, that earthquake that was purported to be a 2.2 in this other location was a much larger earthquake. Okay? But why did I take you down here to Pahala? Folks, way down south and east of where that earthquake hit last night, literally out in the middle of the South Pacific Ocean, there's a magma plume rising out from the deepest parts of the earth, rising up into the crust of the earth. Then the magma is fed through channels all around the globe, going to all the volcanoes around the globe, literally. When that magma comes up here to Hawaii, it comes up here to Pahala. That's the biggest reason we see these swarms of earthquakes in Pahala. Because this is like a service station or a distribution point for magma around the island. That's why we get all these earthquakes. Magma coming into the big island of Hawaii. Okay? That's actually what's happening. Then that magma is fed to volcanoes such as Kilauea. It's also fed further west here into Mauna Loa, right here. And you can see an earthquake over on the northeast flank of Mauna Loa. This is a 2.1 magnitude earthquake, a minor earthquake. Mauna Loa is seeing inflation, meaning Mauna Loa is seeing magma infill. Mauna Loa is recharging itself after its short-lived eruption about a month ago. Mauna Loa is recharging. The same thing is happening at Kilauea today. Kilauea is recharging. I read a report from USGS.gov Hawaii Volcanic Observatory today saying Kilauea is inflating. Minorly inflating, but it's inflating, meaning there is magma infill coming into Hawaii. Or coming into Kilauea, I should say, I'm sorry. Now, I want to go to two places here. The first place is right here. This is Mauna Kea. This is north of Mauna Loa. Mauna Kea is also getting earthquakes. Just as many earthquakes as Mauna Loa. Mauna Kea is also infilling. But USGS is not showing any activity here. You don't see it here, do you? Rarely do we even see any recognition of seismic activity here at Mauna Kea. However, let's go west. Okay? This earthquake here is a 2.3. USGS is saying it's 10 miles south of Waikoloa, Hawaii. The real location is Hualalai Volcano. Hualalai Volcano. And in just a minute, I'm going to show you a seismogram showing activity at Hualalai. Again, USGS does not want to tell us where these locations are specifically. That's why they're very vague. 10 miles south of Waikoloa. It's Hualalai Volcano. Now I'm going to leave this map now, and I'm going back to the images that I was showing you here. Not that one. Right here. Okay? I think this is very significant. Again, this is fern forest. Let's go over to Mauna Loa really quick. Look at this, guys. Remember us seeing that earthquake over on the northeastern flank of Mauna Loa? What's going on? You're seeing it here. You're seeing a ton of tremors all over the place. Yes, Mauna Loa is recharging. Look at all these tremors here. And we're also having earthquakes. And that little 2.0, 2.1 earthquake that they showed here, this seismogram is smaller than it should be. They have tampered with the machine. This should be a 3 something earthquake. Probably 3.2, 3.3 earthquake at Mauna Loa. And you see a couple others here. You see a couple others here. Small, minor tremors and earthquakes down here at the bottom. Okay? That's Mauna Loa. Let me show you Mauna Kea. I said Mauna Kea is getting hit even harder than Mauna Loa is. Watch this. Like I said, Mauna Kea is getting hit. And yet they don't want to tell anybody about it. Many of our EMA family live here on the Big Island. A lot of them do. This is what's really happening at Mauna Kea. Yes, there are a bunch of tremors. Yes, you see blobs of magma here at the top. Okay? Look at this. Isn't this wild? This seismogram started at 11:30 a.m. yesterday morning. Look at all this magma coming into this volcano. Mauna Kea. And when we have these lines going up and down through those blobs of magma, that is actually rock fracturing. Magma inside the magma channel of the volcano fracturing rock inside the volcano. That's what causes the tremors and the earthquakes. And you're seeing here. And yet USGS says nothing had happened on the map. That's typical. That's typical. Like I said, usually we see this very thing happening. A lot more activity at Mauna Kea than they're even showing at Mauna Loa. Okay? I knew you'd probably be thrilled to see this. Okay? I've talked about this a lot. Okay? Let's take you over to Walalai Volcano. Okay? 4 major volcanoes on the Big Island. Look what's happening at Walalai. Okay? Now, I want to take you over here and zoom in here. There's a reason for it. Again, this seismogram started yesterday morning at 11 a.m. in the morning, Hawaii Standard Time. Each line here represents 15 minutes of time. Each horizontal line represents 15 minutes of time. 11, 11:15, 11:30, 11:45, and 12 noon, and so on. You see each line either getting thicker or getting thinner. Okay? That's magma pulsed activity. Magma pulsed activity, P-U-L-S-E-D, pulsed magma. Okay? You see tiny tremors here, all over here. Now you see a bunch of zigzaggy lines here. Guess what that is? If you hadn't already thought about it, folks, this is the earthquake that hit in the Loyalty Islands. Yes, every seismogram picked the shaking of that earthquake down in the Loyalty Islands. Every seismogram around the world. Okay? That's a lot of shaking. And you can see the shaking long after the start of it here. All these zigzaggy lines are from the shaking from that earthquake. Folks, here is that earthquake that USGS reported at Walalai Volcano. And I believe it's larger than they said it was. I think this is at least a 2.3, maybe even a 2.4 earthquake. Why do I say that? Number one, the length of the earthquake, the vertical length of the earthquake, and number two, the secondary wave out to the right. That secondary wave lasted about 45 seconds. I believe, if we're not mistaken, let's go over to the earthquake map that USGS has. Let's close this out and briefly just go right on back to the USGS map to take a look at what they're calling this. Okay? They're calling this a 2.3, so maybe that is right on the seismogram. The 2.3 earthquake. How about that? How about that? Okay. But the earthquakes they're hiding are at Mauna Loa and Mauna Kea. They're also hiding earthquakes at Kilauea too. Not all the earthquakes at Kilauea are being represented on this map because they're hiding the largest ones. Interesting. Again, we have people living on the Big Island. That's why I think it's significant that we show this to you. I think it's very significant. Now, I'm going to go over to the United States here. I'm going to go over here because I want to show you something before the USGS takes us down. Okay? This, folks, is a 2.2 magnitude earthquake in New York. Hastings on Hudson. Okay? New York. They are only showing one earthquake here. There were two. There were two. There were felt reports all over this area. Minor earthquakes like this are not felt. No way. Tremors are not felt, and minor earthquakes are rarely ever felt. Only by very sensitive people. There were a lot of people that felt these earthquakes, meaning these earthquakes were larger than the USGS told us they were. Larger than they were reported on by the news media. And I heard news media talking about it this morning when they happened. So again, the agency's not being truthful. They're letting people think that they can feel 2.0, 2.3, 2.2 earthquakes. People can't. Those are too small. Both of these earthquakes today in New York were large earthquakes, probably on the realm of 3.5 to 3.7 earthquakes. They're still small. They're still small earthquakes, but they were still felt. It's time for the agency to come clean and stop lying to people. Okay? And yes, I have gotten letters from some of you that have even said, "Oh, leave them alone." It's proven. You've proven your worth. You've proven that the agency doesn't know what they're talking about. I got a letter and a donation from one of our followers, David. I appreciate that, David. I really do. He's from Riverside, California. He says, "Dear, we're on. I wanted to send you a thank you for all the information you give us in your videos. I'm a long-time subscriber and I really enjoy the videos. My wife and I wanted to send you this gift as a thank you for all you do. Keep up the good work. I hope you are feeling better soon." Yes, I'm starting to feel a little bit better. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to read you that letter and tell you about his donation that I picked up in the mail today. David, thank you for that. It means a lot. This week I also got notification from one of the healthcare firms that's helping take care of me, and I'm making monthly payments on it. The bill's $2,000. $1,945, $2,000. And they're going to get their money, but it's going to come here and there. I don't have that kind of money. David, you and your wife and many of you others that give us super chats here and who also send us donations in the mail and send the donations via PayPal and Venmo, we greatly appreciate it. One, it helps us keep the lights on and keeps us paying the bills for bandwidth so we can put on these programs. Yes, it takes money to do that, and I'm very appreciative of all of you helping me do that. It means a great deal to me. I've shed tears sometimes when I find donations that you guys send me. Because, quite honestly, it's getting very hard. It's getting very tight. And I know money's getting tight with all of you because it's getting tight with me. I appreciate all of your love. I appreciate your companionship, and I appreciate your support. Now, if my friend Will is watching this program, I hope you are. Will has called twice or 3 times today. I still can't get through on the phone. Every time I try to call or he calls, it just rings, and I try to say hello and he doesn't hear me and I don't hear him, and vice versa when I call him. I can only get 1 or 2 phone calls per day out. It's very embarrassing when I have a planned visit with the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California on Tuesdays. It's very embarrassing when I can't sometimes get through, and I have to use one of the people's messenger accounts to get a conversation through. And sometimes it's a better conversation than we would have over open phone lines. So, but that's what happens. And this has just been happening the last couple of weeks. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. Richard Smith says another 2.1 in Southern California. Not surprising. California's moving. Richard's also talking about 2.5 in Turkey. Oh yeah. There's over 75 earthquakes today in Turkey. USGS shows none. Insane, guys. Insane. Going over here into the New Madrid Fault area. We talked about the New Madrid Fault last night. This earthquake I'm showing you here is in Tennessee on the eastern side of the New Madrid. This is a 2.3 in Tiptonville, Tennessee. They're showing a minor earthquake in Tiptonville, Tennessee. That's interesting because we showed you a bunch of tremors and more than one minor earthquake in Tiptonville last night. It's great that USGS finally admits that there's an earthquake here. Rarely do they do that. I could pull up the Tiptonville seismogram right now and I could show you a bunch of them. It's unreal. The New Madrid Fault's moving. Every day it's moving. Larger and larger earthquakes. So far it's been nothing, I don't think, above a 4.0. Yes, we've had 4.0 earthquakes in the New Madrid Fault area in recent months. Nothing over that so far. But it could happen any day. Some scientists say the next 5 years, and others are this year. The scientists are saying possibly this year. Incredible. Over here in the central part of the U.S., this is Oklahoma. Aaron Springs, Oklahoma. Now, I'm going to zoom in here because I've never seen an earthquake or a tremor here in Aaron Springs. This is a 1.4 tremor in Aaron Springs, Oklahoma. I'm already seeing some oil plots. Oil plots, such as right here. And I can't even zoom in any closer than this, but I can already see a pump and jack on this one. If the pump and jack plot is within 6 to 10 miles away from one of these earthquakes, the earthquake is an oil and gas earthquake. Men and women drill into the earth to obtain oil and gas. Each of those drill points is a long hole in the ground. When seismic energy goes over there and hits one of those earthquake faults, a man-made earthquake fault, guess what? The seismic energy fractures the rock, just as it does at a normal earthquake fault. And just as it does as a magma enters a volcano, fracturing the rock. That's what happened today here in Aaron Springs, Oklahoma, a 1.4 magnitude tremor. And there are other plots all over here. Look at this one just really quick. Look at that. Two of them next to each other, and probably a third to the right of that, a small one there. Okay? Pumps and jacks, guys. Literally all over the landscape. So Aaron Springs, Oklahoma, oil and gas. This one up here in Amber, Oklahoma. Amber, Oklahoma has been having earthquakes here and tremors here for a while now. Let's take a closer look. Okay? Yes, Amber Springs, they say this is 0 miles northeast of Amber, Oklahoma. Look at that. There's Amber, Oklahoma. Woohoo! It's near a city. Look what we have here. Okay? I don't believe that this is a lake. I believe this is probably a river. Most rivers are fault zones. Most rivers are fault zones. This may be on a fault zone. That's what it appears to be. Okay? Literally right next to the river here. It's crazy. Now, we go right here. Okay? Right to the west side of this highway. That appears to be another pump and jack right here. Another pump and jack right next to the highway. Oil and gas? Possibly. Possibly. What's this down here? Yes, right here. Next to these water supply places. Okay? They're pumping water down into the earth. Treated sewage down into the earth to obtain oil and gas here. Yes, this is an oil and gas earthquake. Okay? Pumps and jacks within 6 to 10 miles of an earthquake are earthquake related. Further north, this is El Reno, Oklahoma. This is also another place where we've seen oil and gas earthquakes. And guess what? Just a second. This has happened so many times before, and I'm going to have to reset this map here because USGS decides that they don't want me talking about all this stuff, don't want me showing their maps. Okay. Just a second, I'll bring it back. I always do. When this first happened about a month or so ago, maybe a couple months ago, I was frustrated out of my mind because they'd been doing this for a long period of time, and it always bugged the heck out of me. But it never happened prior to that. But it happened just enough then to bug the heck out of me. And I couldn't figure out why. Well, I started figuring it out. And then we have this. This is El Reno, Oklahoma. This is a 1.6 tremor here. Now it appears that this is 6 miles north-northwest of El Reno, Oklahoma. Well, folks, this could be. But this is El Reno, Oklahoma over here. And we have oil and gas plots all over here. Look at this. That's oil and gas there. That's oil and gas there. There's some pumps and jacks there. There's a smaller one right there. There's a small one right there. small one right there. They're all over here. This is an oil and gas fracking quake. Okay? Literally all over the landscape. All over the landscape. Let's look down here. No, this looks like either farming or something else going on here. Maybe industry. No, that's not oil and gas at all there. That's industry. But this earthquake is right in that 6 to 10 mile gap where this would be an oil and gas earthquake in El Reno, Oklahoma. A 1.6 tremor there. Let's go north. There's another larger one up here. Right here. This is a 2.9. This is a 2.9, 3.0 magnitude earthquake. Folks, this is in Kansas. Kansas also has oil and gas. Oil and gas pumping all over Kansas. Not as much as Oklahoma does. Oklahoma has 586,000 pumps and jacks all over the state. Kansas does too, but not as many. This, folks, I believe, is a fault earthquake. A 2.9, 3.0 earthquake 2 miles east of Aveyah, Kansas. 2 miles east of Aveyah, Kansas. Well, guys, unless Aveyah, Kansas is a very tiny town, which it might be, okay, I don't see it. There's a farm right here, but I don't see a town. Wait a second. Wait a second. Look at this. Guess what, guys? Oil and gas. There's an oil and gas pumping operation right there. Just as I was beginning to feel like this was a seismic earthquake, all of a sudden I find an oil and gas operation. Wow. Isn't that fun? We went on a journey of discovery and found an oil and gas operation within that same limit. So this is probably an oil and gas quake. Okay? That happens. Over the past 2 years, maybe 3 years, we've seen a lot, and I'm saying a lot, a ton of oil and gas quakes in Kansas. In Kansas. My mother's real father is buried there in Kansas. Unreal. Anyway, that was Kansas and Oklahoma, guys. Down here in southwestern Texas. This is Toyah, Texas. This is a 3.7 magnitude earthquake. This is happening all the time. All the time. Toyah, Texas. Do you think this is oil and gas, guys? Linda Covington is asking, how deep is a normal gas well drilled? It could be 50 miles. It could be 10 miles deep. It could be 500 feet deep. It depends on where they find the gas and the oil. Okay? Now, just so you know, a lot of years ago, and I'm talking probably 60 years ago, they started flying NASA planes full of ground penetrating radar. Ground penetrating radar. And they were mapping these places. But in Texas, Texas was full of oil and gas. They just drilled a hole in the ground in Texas and found oil, literally. But they started flying planes with ground penetrating radar to see if there was oil and gas or magma, like they do along the coast of California and up into Washington and Oregon and Alaska and even down into Indonesia, Hawaii, Japan. Yeah, folks, the United States military, NASA, flies planes literally all over the world to map faults and to map volcanoes. They flew all over the Mojave Desert right before and after the Ridgecrest earthquakes, mapping the desert. They've flown all over the Imperial Valley in Southern California, mapping fault zones and mapping the underground magma channels going to the Salton Butte volcano. All over. Here in Toyah, Texas, guess what? Crazy. Crazy. Oil and gas quakes here all the time. Look at this, guys. Even on this map here, you're seeing the oil and gas plots probably not more than a football field away from this quake. This is a 3.7 small quake here. And right here, okay, see this? This is one of those treated water sewage areas where they pump water down into the hole they're pulling steam or pulling oil and gas from. Okay? You can especially tell when you see one of these water ponds. Okay? It's all over. Not at all of them, but quite a few of them. Okay? This, of course, was an oil and gas quake here. Over further west. They want to tell us that this is in White City, New Mexico, but it's not. It's in southern Texas, southwestern Texas. It's a 2.6 earthquake, minor earthquake. Look at this, guys. Oil and gas all over this area. You can see it. You can see the plots here all over this area. Oil and gas everywhere. Oil and gas all throughout this area. Look up here, it's very apparent here too. Oil and gas, guys, literally all over. And even when they don't have the equipment, when it looks to be an empty plot, they still drilled a hole. They may have had to plug that hole because it didn't seem like it had enough oil and gas there, or maybe they had pumped it dry. But there's still a hole there. Still a man-made earthquake fault. Crazy. It's insane. Hurricane Heather says, I'm so frustrated. She's in the chat. She says she's so frustrated with her phone today. It's ridiculous. Heather, I got your back here too. Mine is too. Mine is too. One of these days I'll be able to talk to Will again. I hope. The other day, the same thing was happening. Rob was calling me. Rob 52 here. Rob was calling me. And he couldn't hear me and I couldn't hear him. I called him back, same thing. And then all of a sudden we get to talk. It's crazy. Anyway, all these earthquakes over here in southwestern Texas are all oil and gas. Every one of them. Now that I've shown you this, okay? Now that I've shown you this in southwestern Texas, remember when I said that USGS said that this earthquake was actually in New Mexico? Well, guess what we have in New Mexico besides oil and gas? Let me just briefly take you over to Mammoth Mountain. Okay? Mammoth Mountain. Okay? This is east or west of Mammoth. This is a 1.5 in Oakhurst, California. This one right here. they say this is Tom's place, but this is Mammoth Mountain. Okay? This is a volcano. Folks, just east of Mammoth is another place. It's called Long Valley Volcano. Long Valley Volcano. Long Valley is a supervolcano. Long Valley is very much a supervolcano. Now, I'm going to take this off and I'm going to show you a picture. Woohoo! We get to see a picture. This is Long Valley Caldera today. Long Valley Caldera is 23 miles long. 23 miles long. And just west of it is Mammoth Mountain. Long Valley is a supervolcano. Mammoth Mountain is just a volcano, they say. But some scientists are talking that Mammoth may be connected to Long Valley. It may be in the same caldera. If that's the case, all of a sudden the Long Valley caldera goes from 23 miles long to more like 75 miles long. That's a huge caldera. A supervolcano, guys. Folks, the reason I talked about New Mexico, right here, this is called this is called the La Garita volcano. The La Garita volcano. This was once a supervolcano. A supervolcano. Who would have thunk? I did some research, guys. Guess what? The Cotton Picker is a supervolcano. Now, it's no longer active because of the geology here in New Mexico. I'm not saying New Mexico, I'm sorry. This is just north of New Mexico, up in southwestern Colorado. Okay? Southwestern Colorado, New Mexico, Utah. Not necessarily Utah. Well, yes, Utah and Arizona. Okay? 4 points there where the states meet up. Okay? It's huge. But over there in southwestern Colorado is the La Garita caldera. A lot of years ago, it erupted. A huge eruption. What you're seeing here is basalt. All that rock there is basalt lava. Okay? Erupted up, the scientists say, 28 million years ago. It expelled some 5,000 cubic kilometers of molten rock. Molten lava. Okay? Fortunately for us, the tectonic plates in this area have moved. They've rearranged themselves. So a repeat event for the La Garita volcano is over. It's impossible. Now, it was a supervolcano. The supervolcano literally destroyed itself. When it erupted those 5,000 cubic kilometers of lava, guess what? The volcano collapsed in on top of itself. And all that's left is around it is lava or basalt lava, showing us that it is lava. Now, I'm going to go even further than that. The La Garita eruption was 10,000 times more violent than the Mount St. Helens eruption in 1980. 10,000 times more violent than the eruption of Mount St. Helens in 1980. And unreal. Possibly the largest single eruption in history produced enough lava and ash. This is the La Garita volcano. It produced enough lava and ash to fill Lake Michigan. Huge. Huge. Enough lava and ash to fill Lake Michigan. The explosion left behind the La Garita caldera, a gaping hole in the ground, twice the size of Los Angeles, twice the size of LA, as the supervolcano emptied and collapsed in on top of itself. Wow. Remnants of the volcanoes that remained were either obliterated during the eruption or were covered with ash more than 4,000 feet deep in places. Geologists in the 1970s in Colorado have identified up to 18 calderas, large collapsed depressions marking the sites of former ancient volcanoes in Colorado, in the area that's named the San Juan Volcanic Field, the San Juan Mountains. Rob52 says it's pretty. Oh yes it is. I've driven through here. It's absolutely gorgeous. Now, I drove through it in the summertime, in August. Down here in southwestern Colorado, it starts to cool off a bit. It's not quite as hot. Early in the summer, it's blistering hot. Crazy. Now, with that said, that was the La Garita supervolcano. It is no more. But there's another supervolcano north of there. This is called Yellowstone. I can't say we all, most of us have been here. I've been here numerous times when I was a kid. As an adult, I visited here about 2003, 2004. It was right after a massive wildfire had burned through Yellowstone. Firefighters saved Yellowstone Village. But the surrounding trees, the lodgepole pines, were burnt up. And all that we saw at the time was black stumps sticking up out of the ground. The vegetation was burned. But there was already new growth happening as a result of that fire. Because the heat of the fire opened up the seed containers left by the trees. And those seed containers had sprouted with new pine trees, new weeds and undergrowth. Yellowstone has recovered. Why do I talk about that fire? Because West Yellowstone is still active. It's one of the most active volcanoes on Earth. It's incredible. It really is incredible. This is the caldera of Yellowstone. Now I'm going to show you more than this. Okay? I want to show you this. This is an expanded view of Yellowstone. Okay? This is a geologic dip here, showing you the true veracity of how big this volcano is. We see Lake Yellowstone here. You see Big Thumb here. Where that yellow dot is, that's Big Thumb in the lake of West Yellowstone. And off to the right here, okay? It's incredible. It's another lake. Hebgen Lake, guys. We've had a lot of earthquakes at Hebgen Lake. At least a 7.1, if not larger, earthquake hit Hebgen Lake in 1959, destroying buildings, laying masonry that was unsupported down on the ground, schools destroyed. I've got a picture of a cabin that slid into Hebgen Lake. I've got a picture of a highway that slid into Hebgen Lake. Unreal. I've got newspaper articles detailing what happened with that earthquake. It wasn't related to the volcano. It could have been, but it wasn't. There are other earthquake faults that run through the Yellowstone Valley here. Earthquake faults. We've seen earthquakes hit here recently. We've seen 2.1s, 3.4s, 3.5s, and 4.5s hit Yellowstone. It still has not erupted. In Yellowstone Lake, we've seen swarms and swarms of earthquakes hitting here. Not all at once, but hitting here now and again. What are those swarms of earthquakes from? From magma beneath Yellowstone Lake. There's a dike of magma underneath Yellowstone Lake. It looks like this. It's pushing up from underneath the lake. And it's already sent heat into Yellowstone Lake. Yellowstone Lake no longer freezes, guys. It used to back in the day. It's now heated up to about 70 to 80 degrees. I've swam in Yellowstone Lake in about 2003 or 2004. Incredible. Yellowstone Lake is above a volcano. A big volcano. Now you see another yellow dot off to the northeast away from the lake. That's Old Faithful. That's Old Faithful. Further north and west, we have Mammoth Geyser Basin. It's also part of Yellowstone. This whole area is a huge caldera. Actually, three calderas. Three calderas, including Island Park to the southwest. Three different calderas. It's huge. Three different volcanoes here. Yellowstone being the biggest. Yellowstone is the biggest. Now, Yellowstone caldera is ranked the 21st most dangerous volcano in the United States. That's according to the U.S. Geological Volcanic Threat Assessment. That's out of 161 volcanoes, Yellowstone is the 21st most dangerous. Now, there's a scientist named Michael Pollan. A lot of us don't like him. He lies. He doesn't tell us the truth about much of anything. He hems and haws, but he's a scientist in charge of the Yellowstone Volcanic Observatory. He said the survey the USGS takes into account the proximity to people and how often the volcano erupts. So by combining the hazard index, basically what the volcano does and how frequently it does it, to the exposure index, is which is the human population or the human impact. That's what gives you your threat score, and that's how volcanoes are ultimately ranked. As you know, Yellowstone sits over in Wyoming, on the southern edge of Montana, the eastern edge of Idaho, and goes down to the southeastern part of Idaho. Island Park stretches down and is just north of Rexburg, Idaho, where I had gone to school. I've been all over this area. There's definitely a volcanic eruption threat here. Now, The USGS survey has also taken into account volcanoes that have erupted during the Holocene era, which is considered in recent geologic time to be 11,650 years ago, up to the present day. While Yellowstone has not erupted for 70,000 years, the supervolcano was included in the survey because of its size. How big is it compared to others? Mr. Pullen says there are 2 other fairly inactive calderas on the list in California and New Mexico. Because it shows these signs of unrest, seismicity, ground deformation, meaning the ground rises and falls, ground deformation, and gas emissions, SO2 and CO2, which there is a lot of. And those were the criteria for including Yellowstone and also Long Valley caldera and the Valdese caldera on the list. In 2005, the Yellowstone caldera was also ranked 21st in eruptivity. The volcano has shown no drastic signs of change since then. No drastic sign of change since then. I fielded a lot of calls and messages from people asking me about Yellowstone after other people got them incensed that something was going to happen. Yes, there is seismicity in Yellowstone. There are earthquakes happening. There is magma rising in Yellowstone. It is. Good night, Roxy. Hope you have a good night. We appreciate you, Roxy. We appreciate you so much. Roxy's one of our mods. She does a marvelous job. She's a great lady. We love and appreciate her. Good night, Roxy. Have a good one. But in 2005, the Yellowstone caldera was ranked 21st. The volcano has shown no drastic changes since then. Okay? There's been no huge change. The volcanic threat assessment was created to mitigate risk and help with emergency procedures. I have been involved in risk assessments of various places in the last 10 to 15 years. Risk assessments are very important. Now, the USGS helps inform and prepare people for potential hazards caused by volcanic activity. They also help to inform the National Volcanic Early Warning System, similar to the Earthquake Early Warning System. Okay? Now, why did I talk about gas and oil earthquakes? Because back in the 40s, USGS was formed to map out areas for oil and gas exploration and drilling. That was their primary duty. And now they report on earthquakes for the most part. And they do a lot of other research. They do a lot of other research. I have met with some of the scientists. Some of them are very nice. They're very cordial and they're very helpful. There are others that are being paid by politicians to lie and not tell the truth. That's a fact. We've talked about that a lot in the past. The reason I'm talking about it is because a lot of you have asked questions about it. Now, I want to show you something else. And I think this is very indicative of what's going on. One of our good friends, Canadian Patriot, he's been talking to us about the fires in Western Canada and how they're affecting him over in Eastern Canada. Okay, let me show you something. Okay, what I'm showing you is a picture, and it's way too big. I don't know why this happened. I'm going to reduce it in size so you can see it, because I really feel that this is an important slide here. Look at the smoke. This is from the GOES-16 satellite. Look at the smoke coming out of Western Canada, going east and going south into the United States. Look at that. Thick smoke coming from Western Canada wildfires. Guess where I'm at? See this plume running down south and east? Guess what we've had to put up with today? Kimberly Hopkins just gave us a $5 super chat. Thank you, Kim. God bless you. That's sure sweet of you. We sure appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yes, Canadian Patriot. I love that guy. He's so good. He is so good. He and I are best friends. We're brothers. We really are. Brothers by a different mother. I have several of those here. I love you guys. Rob's one of them. Demon Cat. One of our great mods here. I love them. Great people. Wonderful brothers. But this is what we're being putting up with today. Smoke from Western Canada wildfires. This is incredible, guys. It's incredible. But it's not the only thing. Look at this one. Let me enlarge this picture for you too. Again, this is a GOES-16 satellite. Look at the smoke coming out of Western Canada. Look at that. It's engulfing most of Canada here. A good share of Canada, both north of the wildfires and east, and going down into the area of central Texas, going down into Mexico, it looks like. And it's reaching down over to where I live. Okay? This is what we're putting up with. We don't have any other way to do it. We don't have any say in it. Smoke from the Western Canadian wildfires. The GOES-16 geocolor satellite image shows significant smoke has spread to the east and the southeast over the past several days and from recent early season wildfire activity in Western Canada. The smoke, which is thick in spots and partially obscuring the sun, is now present around southeastern Canada and portions of the northeastern United States, including down where I live, the mid-Atlantic region, and offshore over the Atlantic Ocean. Yes, it's been what we thought was just overcast here, but folks, it's not just overcast. This is smoke from the Canadian wildfires all over this area. Now, why have I told you about all of this going on? Demon Cat says, we love you, Ron. I love you guys, all of you. You guys are awesome. Okay? It's awesome. It's not just friendship, it's familyhood. It's brother and sisterhood. Starbright Pam just gave us another $5 super chat here. God bless you for that. We so appreciate it. It really does. Kimberly says, I'll match you. Starbright Pam says, Kimberly, I'll match you. Well, bless your heart. I really appreciate it. That means so much to me. Guys, do you have any questions about anything we talked about? Okay? I'm going to wrap it up here. I want to make sure that we've given you the message you come here for. Also, friends, family, if you give us a thumbs up before you leave here, we'd appreciate it. A thumbs up counts in the analytical factor that USGS uses to ascertain whether they're going to allow anybody else on YouTube to see this program. Your visit here, how long you were here, that counts. Lately, we've had upwards of 25-minute visits here. A lot of you stay for a lot longer than that, which I greatly appreciate. But the longer you're here, the more information you're going to come away with. Information that can save your lives. That's why we're here, to try to give you information that's going to help you and your families. We talk a lot about preparedness on Fridays. I decided to go just over here and talk about earthquakes and volcanoes, which I've done, to give you an idea of what's going on. Thumbs up means a great deal to us. YouTube takes that and the number of people that are watching our program, the number of people in chat, how much you chatted. They take a look at the time element, how much time you spent here on this program. They take a look at thumbs up. They also take a look at the number of comments that you leave below our video once this program is finished. All those go into the analytical factor. We're doing pretty good. I also want to thank you because now we're close to 1,200 subscribers. Before I came on the program tonight, it was 1,189 subscribers. That's awesome. Nearly 1,200 subscribers before we went on the program. That is so cool. Yesterday, before we did the program, about that big 8.0 earthquake, and I believe it was an 8.0, I showed you the data tonight. When we came on the air last night, we had just less than 1,100. Now, we're nearly 1,200. I appreciate that greatly. On an average, we've been between 20,000 and 30,000 views of this program every month. That's awesome. That's wonderful. Texas lady says, gave us another $5 super chat. Thank you. She said, we'll match the last two. Appreciate this program and all here. Thank you so much, Texas lady. God bless you. She's another one of our friends. I've talked to her extensively over the past 4 years. It's so cool. I love my family here. Laura Marie is here. I appreciate her too. She and I go way back. Way, way back. She's a wonderful friend and she's a dear sister. I truly believe she's a sister. Her mother and my mother were best friends. And our fathers were best friends. Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Anyway, guys, do you have any other questions? I appreciate everything that you've done for me tonight, being here and helping me. Michael McKinney says you keep us in the loop, Ron. Thanks. Michael, I appreciate you too. You're awesome. Folks, before I leave you tonight, I want to leave you with a message. I always go to the scriptures lately to pull up something that means a great deal to me. Tonight, I've gone to John chapter 5. I think I've talked about some parts of this chapter before. This is John chapter 5, verses 46 and 47. For had ye believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. Okay? This is Jesus Christ talking. For had ye believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if ye believe not his writings, how shall ye believe my words? The people back in the day had read the writings of Moses. They were very familiar with the prophets back in the day. They had scriptures. Christ challenged them. If you read the writings of Moses, you would believe in me as well. Why am I talking about that? Because, folks, we have the scriptures here. We have the scriptures here. Right there in John there, where Christ talks about the writings of Moses. We have the scriptures. We have the teachings of Jesus Christ here. If you read Matthew and Mark and Luke and John, and Genesis and Exodus, Leviticus and Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Jude, I could go on and on. If you had read the scriptures, you would have read about Jesus Christ. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, the Acts, Romans, 1st and 2nd Corinthians, 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, and on and on. If you had read the scriptures, you would know of Jesus Christ. If you haven't, how would you have any relationship with the Savior? We talked about that Wednesday night. We talked about spiritual preparedness, reading the scriptures and understanding them, purposefully reading the scriptures. It's important to get a testimony of Jesus Christ. Cramplots just gave us another $20 super chat. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate that. Thank you. God bless you. God bless you all. Like I said, please, brothers and sisters, read the scriptures. For in them you're going to find eternal life. You're going to understand who Jesus Christ is and what he is today in our lives. Jesus Christ still lives. He hears and answers his prayer. Answers our prayers. He does. I know that. Brothers and sisters, I love you. I love you like I love Jesus Christ. You are my brothers and sisters. You are my family. I care about you. That's why we're here on the air, to give you information to help you survive what is going on in our lives, in our nations, and in our communities, all over. I love you very, very much. Please, folks, share this program far and wide with your family and extended family, your neighbors, your friends, your social media contacts, and even the people you work with. Please share it far and wide. People need tonight's message. They need to understand what's going on. This earthquake didn't just happen out of the blue. It's happened 3 other times before this, down in the South Pacific. It's going to happen again. We will talk about it. We will cover it. Because people need to know this to save their lives. Yes, it could have been a tsunami last night. It could have been very devastating. It wasn't. But it could have been. I want you to know I love you. I hope you have a great weekend. We won't be on again this weekend until Sunday, unless something happens. If we have another major event, we'll be back on the air to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available. Whether it's an explosion, a major shooting, whether it is a major earthquake, a huge fire or a flood. By the way, Utah's still seeing floods. Massive snow melt. I saw a video from one of my friends in the mountains east of Salt Lake. He and his wife built a home up in the mountains. Massive snowfall, 15 feet of snow. Now his driveway doesn't have any. His yard around his house is starting to open up. All that snow is going someplace. All the way down the creeks and rivers out of the mountains into Salt Lake, going into Wyoming and Colorado, all over. We will be talking about all of this until it stops, which it won't. God bless you guys. May the Lord be with you this day and always. God be with you until we meet again. Have a great night. We will see you Sunday morning at 12 noon for Come Follow Me, the Savior Said, our weekly Sunday school class. We're going to be starting to talk about Mark, Luke, and John even more. God be with you until we meet again. Have a great night, everybody. Much love. Take care of each other. Love each other. See you soon, guys. Good night.